Hello, Lucy and Orson. I know you've been enjoying those funny poems I've been reading you, and I've got some different poems today. They're from this book called The Oxford Book of Animal Poems, and yes, they're all about animals. And I started thinking, well, what is a poem actually? Do you know? We know what one is when we hear it, but how would we describe it? A poem usually tells a story, or sometimes it paints a picture in words. So poems are quite special. They're quite short, and the poet chooses their words very carefully. In poems, words are very precious. They're like precious jewels. A poet can do so much in a very few short words in a poem. Let's have a listen to some of these ones. They're not funny ones. Hope you enjoy them. The first one's called The Shark by E.J. Pratt. He seemed to know the harbour, so leisurely he swam, his fin like a piece of sheet iron, three-cornered and with knife edge, stirred not a bubble as it moved with its baseline on the water. His body was tubular and tapered and smoke blue, and as he passed the wharf he turned and snapped at a flatfish that was dead and floating, and I saw the flash of a white throat and a double row of white teeth and eyes of metallic grey, hard and narrow and slit. Then out of that harbour, with that three-cornered fin, shearing without a bubble the water, lithely, leisurely he swam, that strange fish, tubular, tapered smoke blue, part vulture, part wolf, part neither, for his blood was cold. The second poem is called Egrets, and we see a lot of egrets down at Barwon Heads, don't we? This one's written by Judith Wright. Once, as I travelled through a quiet evening, I saw a pool, jet black and mirror still. Beyond, the slender paperbarks stood crowding. Each on its own white image looked its fill, and nothing moved but 30 egrets wading. 30 egrets in a quiet evening. Once in a lifetime, lovely past believing, your lucky eyes may light on such a pool. As though for many years I had been waiting, I watched in silence till my heart was full of clear dark water and white trees unmoving, and whiter yet those 30 egrets wading. She captures a beautiful moment when she first sees those 30 egrets. The next one is by A.B. Patterson, Banjo Patterson, and I read some poems of Banjo Patterson to you earlier. This one's called Old Man Platypus. Far from the trouble and toil of town, where the reed beds sweep and shiver, look at a fragment of velvet brown, Old Man Platypus drifting down, drifting along the river. And he plays and dives in the river bends in a style that is most elusive, with few relations and fewer friends, for Old Man Platypus descends from a family most exclusive. He shares his burrow beneath the bank with his wife and his son and daughter, At the roots of the reeds and the grasses rank, and the bubbles show where our hero sank to its entrance under the water. Safe in their burrow below the falls, they live in a world of wonder. Where no one visits and no one calls, they sleep like little brown billiard balls with their beaks tucked neatly under. And he talks in a deep, unfriendly growl as he goes on his journey lonely, for he's no relation to fish nor fowl, nor to bird nor beast, nor to horned owl. In fact, he's the one and only platypus. The last one reminds me very much of Barwon Heads. It's called Possums, and we see lots of them, don't we? We've possums in our roof. How very sweet. You'd think I'd hear the patter of their feet. You'd think I'd wake sometimes from peaceful sleep, aroused by gentle rustling as they creep on rafters in our spider muffle loft. You'd think I'd hear them scamper, velvet soft, these smoky shadows flitting overhead, with delicate and dainty tripping tread. Ha! They thunder round the racetrack of the beams, then organise themselves in football teams. Their games are much like ours. On the whole, I'll swear I've heard triumphant yells of goal, a frightful thud as two of them collide, an uproar as they bellow out offside, then scuffles, whacks and wallops as they fight, a thumping possum rumpus in the night. That one's written by Anne Coleridge, and I know exactly what she means. Bye now.